Mansfield today on a Tuesday, and we welcome Advocate Lance Brogden to the studios once again. Hello, Lance.
Hey, Jim. Thanks, mate.
Listen, we were talking before the show started. Oh, by the way, I heard via the grapevine that your son JP and Courtney are soon to have your very first grandchild.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah.
Are you ready for this?
Well, he eventually fired a live round. So, are we ever ready? No, thanks, Jim. We're very blessed. We're looking forward to it. They're a lovely couple and a little boy on the way. So another pair of nuts in the family.
Another Brogden. And how many can this world survive? Yeah, I don't think many more.
They're battling a bit. Eh?
Yeah, they are. Listen. Fewer couples who are discussing it are getting married these days. They're rather cohabitating. And there must be some influence there on their legal statement.
Right. Well, interesting, just on the numbers. So what we're finding now is almost every year, the number of people cohabitating as opposed to getting married is increasing by about 100% a year. So you're right. It's the right question. We're moving in that direction. The problem is legally, it has no legal status. Okay. It doesn't. Whether they feel that they've been together, for a while, whether they feel they're sharing what we used to, in the old Dutch used to say, tafel and bed. You're sharing a table, you're sharing a bed. It is not the same as being married, and you are not protected whatsoever in terms of thinking you have a legal marriage contract.
Okay. What about inheritance? If one of the partners passes away.
Right, so we will probably get to it just now in universal partnerships, but as a rule, you have no legal rights to inherit anything because you were not married. So as we did a few weeks ago, remember we were doing about ANCs and different types of ways of being married. So if you don't have an antenuptial contract, a certain protocol sets in place that's automatic. When you get married, legally married, and you have a marriage certificate. In this case, none of that kicks in place. So there's no expectation, and don't have one, if your partner passes away, that you're going to get something from that. Unless, of course, and we'll get to it, you had a policy in place which you left something to somebody, but you can leave that to anybody.
Okay. Is there any law that then regulates the rights of the parties?
No. Very sad. In terms of cohabiting, living together, there is no particular law that gives them specific rights. No.
But what happens if they've been together for 30 years?
So let us take examples of modern marriages. How long is long enough to have been a good marriage? I mean, a bad marriage in 3 months is a long, long time. If it's a good, and a great marriage like your folks had and my folks had, 30, 40 years is not long enough. So the length of time is a fallacy. People say, okay, you know what, it's an automatic marriage. We've been cohabiting and therefore by default we are married. Unfortunately, the time is not the measure whatsoever.
Okay, so I'm trying to find a hole here.
And we will.
Oh, okay. The couple opens a bank account together.
Aha. Well, here's another one. So firstly, those of you who want to try and do that, the banks are very, very careful. A lot of our business accounts of opening accounts for two individual people. Most banks won't actually allow it. And if it's in a primary person's name, if you go into overdraft, etc., the person whose name it in is the person who's going to be paying for that. Okay. So once again, that itself does not mean you're man and wife. If the bank allows it, it's two people opening a bank account together, and they're very specific on the liabilities around that, joint and several liability, etc., etc. But it does not give any advantage to either party in terms of living together. No advantage.
Okay. Now, you raised this concept of universal partnership.
Right.
Tell me about it.
So the world is moving, in South Africa as well, which I think is good, is that if two parties, and they don't have to be different sex parties, Jim, they can be, it can be a homosexual relationship, it can be whatever it may be. If they decide to live together as partners, and a couple of things are in play. One, they want to make a life together for profit. It's very important. The word profit comes in this often. If they want to do it for profit, if they both contribute towards that relationship, Now, they don't both have to be financial contribution. The one can give technology, can give insight, can give whatever they do. If they both gain advantage from it, okay? And 4, it is not for illegal or contra bonos mores purposes. In other words, if it's not there to set up some child trafficking or something like that, if 2 people want to do that and they formalize that in one way or another, and there's no question about that, then they do form a universal partnership. However, all those things must be in play, and it must be clear on the rules of the game, whether they are written down or not. In that instance, we sit in the situation where we do have a universal partnership, and it's very, very similar, okay, to being married. But you need all those things in play, and preferably captured, written down, and both parties must get something out of it. Now, there's one court case that went through quite a while ago, where tacitly people did have a universal partnership. And eventually, when the one party passed away, the other party was given a third of the estate of the person who passed away. The court made that decision that there was a universal partnership. But the important thing is you must have those 4 factors in play. So, and I don't have to repeat them.
Yeah.
But profit, both contributing, both getting something out of it, and it must be legal. It mustn't be to run a drug ring or something like that.
Is there any circumstance that places cohabitation and marriage on an equal footing?
Yes, okay, so there's something else, and this is not necessarily to the advantage of either party, but what happens is, for example, the Domestic Violence Act. If you're living together, okay, you're equally protected even if you are not married, you're cohabiting. For example, your tax status, you can put something in place where you can use that person as your live-in partner for tax advantage. Another one is you can put that person on your medical aid. You know, we both know, we know how that works. You're allowed to do that. So there are but advantages of putting some, but you could do it with somebody even if you're not really, you know, cohabiting fully with them. You can, in a policy, you can do something in a policy. You can leave it in something in your will. So all those things come into play. The other acts come into play. The other legislation come into play. But it does not make your relationship one of man and wife.
Yeah. Okay. Phew. It's a lot to digest.
Yeah. And it's concerning, Jim, because as I said, the cohabitation is increasing with 100% a year. So it's something I believe we should get a grip on and see what it is, but also put some formality in place. Otherwise, you'd have ongoing dispute and matrimonial mayhem.
Yeah, otherwise you get your courts tied up in a whole lot of matrimonial matters.
Without it being organised.
Yeah, exactly. Advocate, thank you very much for your
Jim,
time.
thank you very much.
And thank you very much for your time. It's been great having you along with us. And we'll catch you next week once again for The Legal Show. Bye-bye.